afternoon, campers. How the devil are you? So you join me the very next day after the previous video, walking exactly the same route that I took yesterday, down the river and back along the canal. I couldn't resist it. It's a beautiful sunny day again. Occasional snow flurry, bitterly cold, but I just couldn't resist getting out and about again, doing something with my day instead of just languishing at home. And I feel sorry for my mum, who's stuck at home, disabled, and not that would stop her, because my brother and sister live close by, and she's a taxi ride from her local town, and getting out and about wouldn't be a problem normally, apart from the COVID regulations. And then about 11 days ago, my mum took a home test just so that she could go to my dad's funeral, if nothing else. In fact, we all got tested again to see if we could go to my dad's funeral. As it happened, my mum tested positive twice. Once with a rocket, once with a simple make it. And although I'm still reticent about believing the results, she was positive, couldn't go to the funeral. Thankfully, I don't know if it's a recent thing, but she was able to watch the whole proceedings via a video link. I presume that's something that funeral parlours have started doing more recently, in the light of the COVID regulations and how many people can attend funerals, etc. As was the case, I think, for about a month after the actual funeral itself, you can go online and watch it. I think there's a small fee that you have to pay. So she did that, and so there we are. She didn't have any symptoms, and 10 days is the isolation period that you have to stay at home for, which she did, which expired Sunday, day before yesterday, I think. And so it's all been a big shit show, to be honest with you, a big shit show. I wanted to talk a little bit about COVID today and the effect that it's having on my family, apart from nothing else, apart from the whole world globally. It's a big problem. Touch wood, thankfully I've tested negative both times that I've been tested, and hopefully that stays that way. At the funeral, it was only me and my brother and my uncle and auntie, and so the reason for that was that my sister had to self-isolate, not because she tested positive, she tested negative, but because her husband tested positive. Well, didn't necessarily test positive, but at least had to stay at home with what seemed on the surface of things to be, at least what the doctors said, was the symptoms that are, but not even that. It's a long story, and maybe I'll quickly delve into it. So, as was the case with many people, when it was advertised and pushed by all the sort of big shopping brands and supermarkets and stuff, go vegan for January, Veganuary, awful name. And so, they did that. My sister and her husband did that for almost a month, and her husband ended up with awful stomach pains and cramps, and whether that's because of suddenly going to a vegan diet or not, who knows. Certainly I know from my own experience, I tried it for a month, did a lot of research beforehand, and kind of eased myself into it gently, because I'd read online that, through my research I realised that, to keep it very simple, that bacteria that you have, that we all have in our intestines, that help to digest the food that we eat, the diet that we have. They need time to acclimatise. Certain bacteria will die off if you go from a meat to a vegetable diet, or vice versa. Going back to eating meat afterwards, after being vegan for so long. You need to coax your stomach and intestines into the new food types slowly. And I don't think the big companies take that into account. I'm sure there are plenty of people. You got to take it slow. Introduce extra things into your diet, as with anything. If you want to try a new food, try a tiny bit first. If you never had mussels and you want to see if you're allergic to them, just have a tiny nibble of it first, and that seems to work. To test with a very, very small amount whether or not your body, and everyone's different, can cope with that. Obviously, I think perhaps the only food group that's ill-advised to test it with is mushrooms and fungi, because as you probably all know, a really good, tasty, healthy one, most of them seem to look very similar to counterparts which are deadly poisonous and will kill you either instantly or slowly and painfully over the course of the next few days. Excuse me. But that's getting slightly off topic. Whether or not my sister's husband was affected by the change of diet, or just picked up another bug, stomach flu or a stomach bug of some sort, who knows? Certainly he went to hospital for lots of tests, and the doctors there were perplexed, flabbergasted, didn't understand it, and I think there was even mention at some point that it must have been a new variation of the COVID bug. Who's to know? I'm sceptical. I don't know about you, but I'm still sceptical about the whole government advice, scientists' advice. Media seems to paint a certain picture for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm not going to go into that today. But a certain picture is painted, and you even see it on billboards and bus stops. Stay at home, don't be stupid, don't be the one that spreads it to everybody else. How much do you believe? I'm sceptical. Like I mentioned in my video yesterday, I try and think about things from both points of view. And the point of view of the media and the government that is force-fed into our eyes and everywhere that you look is one side of the coin, I'm sure, or one side of the story, maybe not even a coin, because that only has two sides. And maybe there's multiple aspects to this that haven't been explored, that aren't being talked about, and so who knows whether COVID actually exists or not, or it's just a variation of flu or the cold virus. As far as I'm aware, and I'm no bioscientist, but I believe it's in the same group, the same family as the cold or flu bacteria or viruses that can attack, that attack millions of people across the world every day. So where do we go from there? I think the main issue that I wanted to talk about really was the fact that it has affected my family quite a bit recently. So, cut a long story short, that's what happened at my dad's funeral. Only me and my brother. My brother, who a few weeks earlier at Christmas couldn't come to Christmas, couldn't celebrate Christmas with me and my sister and her husband and my mum, because he tested positive for COVID. Where did he get it from? Who knows? His son that they all went for tests just before Christmas. His son tested negative, but he's a teenage lad. Did he actually do the test correctly? My brother's daughter, I imagine that my brother did the test for her because she's much younger, and her test came back inconclusive. So they weren't able to put their finger on whether the COVID existed in their bodies or not, whether you believe it or not. So there you go. So that was Christmas, kind of not ruined because we still had a nice time, but Christmas was buggered up because my brother couldn't come. He had to self-isolate with his little family, and supposedly he was clear. He works in education, so he's actually testing regularly now with home test kits. Do you believe that they're working correctly or not? That's another story. And to safeguard the children and I guess his family, he's testing twice a week, I think, with those home test kits. So there we go. Then my sister's husband was laid up with whatever he had. Bizarrely, even though they're husband and wife, my sister and her husband, she tested negative, and still, I think, as far as I know, is negative. So that throws another angle onto it, whether he actually had a variant of COVID or not. Who's to know? What else is there to talk about? So recently, we were going to go to my dad's funeral. My mum tested positive twice. Didn't go to the funeral. Waited the 10 days. The 10 days expired on Sunday just gone. No symptoms whatsoever. I jokingly said that it's down to most of our family has the rhesus negative blood type. What a load of bollocks that could be, or maybe not, who knows. The Aryan race and all that stuff, look it up. But there we go. So now my mum is laid up in bed and feeling some symptoms perhaps, which is weird. She's not eating, feels tired all the time, and is talking of not only a loss of appetite, but a loss of taste as well. Are they connected? Probably. Are they COVID? Who knows? Lots of who knows in this video. Nobody seems to really know. She's tested positive with no symptoms, and then suddenly develops a few of the suspected symptoms after she's meant to have been clear for 10 days. It just doesn't make sense. Of course, there is another iron in the fire with all of this, and that is that my dad did die, and love him or hate him, I'll talk to you after this bloody road again. There we go, that's better. Down by the canal now. I have to see some kind of cruiser boat going down the canal. Looks like a joyful way to spend the afternoon cruising on a beautiful day like today. So where was I before that stupid main road? Well, I was talking about my dad, and whether you love him or hate him, loved or hated, I guess, is better terminology now. The fact is, it has affected all four of us that are left behind, So my mum, me, my brother and sister, it has affected us. Obviously, on, as my sister said, on many layers. There's many layers to it. I tried to summarise it very badly the other day when I talked about the fact that in one way we're joyful and rejoicing even the fact that the tyranny is over. It's finished. But also, much like when you, and this is a really bad analogy, please forgive me, but and I actually used a similar analogy at exactly this point of the walk the other day, where I said that I had passed the halfway mark and was now heading home, and that bittersweet feeling of knowing maybe the best half of the walk is coming to an end, and then the walk finally itself will be coming to an end. This bit of canal is really lovely, but then it's a stomp through the city centre and the immediate suburbs of Manchester, back to my house, and it's the end of a journey is both exhilarating and joyful and sad as well at the end of the day, because you know something's come to an end. The only thing that you can do is look forward to the next journey. That's what it is, isn't it? Life is just one big journey. And my dad's journey came to an end, but he left behind his legacy. So joyful that it's over, that none of us have to put up with the tyranny of it anymore. Physical and mental and day-to-day draining misery. And yet the lasting effect that he's had on our lives is, and again this is a summary, but one of regret. Regret that that things couldn't have been different and weren't different, and that in our 4 lives that are left, us, the rest of the family, will never experience what it was like to have an amazing dad or an amazing husband, and all the things that you hear from other people, of course, TV, films, friends, people that you associate with throughout your life, you pick up on, and actually seeing other people interact with their parents as well, and you pick up on how the things that were missing from your own experience, and that's difficult to deal with. Because you know that you can never go back. Even if you could, maybe he wouldn't have been any different. I'll never have another one. It's a weird phenomenon, and something that's going to take some time to get my head around. I've had 30 years, I guess, to start getting my head around it, and my brother and sister slightly less so. Living our own lives, and for my mum, that's only just started. That coming to terms with the fact that he's gone and she doesn't have to put up with it anymore. It's only just started for her, and yet, what an awful situation to be in when that happens. You're locked inside your house with a test that's positive for COVID. No symptoms, and having to deal with all of that stress and those emotions in the blink of an eye, and not even anybody there that can hug you and kiss you and say everything will be alright, or to sit down on the sofa next to you and talk through it gradually, bit by bit, work out all the creases as best they can. That's where my mum is right now. So she's laid up in bed this morning and had been probably quite depressed, if we're honest, for the last week or so. And I'm only guessing, but the things that I've just been talking about or touching the surface of are perhaps the things that she's dealing with right now. So, did she have COVID? We don't know. Is she now belatedly and strangely getting symptoms for COVID? I don't know. Is she coming to terms with everything and it's been a bit of a shock to the system? Certainly. Is she, is all of this mental dilemma that she's going through, sorry, noisy train, I can't escape the fucking transport round here, buses, cars, people talking, trams, trains. At least I don't live near the airport, for many reasons. So there we go. Is it manifesting itself, this stress, this depression, is it manifesting itself as COVID symptoms? Is she, what's the word that the doctors and the medical professions use when, is it manifest? When something manifests itself as something else. So if I told you that you had chickenpox, would you start developing symptoms of chickenpox? Do you know the thing I mean? Maybe I'll Google it later and add a commentary over the top. But is that what's happening? Is she so worried sick about everything else that and having tested positive, she's now developing what she thinks are symptoms because of that? Who knows? Lots of questions that I don't know the answers to, and I don't know if we ever will know. So there you go. I had to come out today because of that, and to talk about it, and just to get things off my chest again. So yeah, and I feel it's very, very therapeutic for me to do that, get things off my chest. Please pray to whoever is up there that my mum comes through this and that we all come through this, and that, you know, that the doctors say that she's okay, and physically and mentally she gets better and gets some peace, you know, before the inevitable time that comes for all of us. We need to try and find some peace before we go, and this me doing this on the phone here is a little bit of the step in the right direction for me, I've found, for trying to find that peace. I was diagnosed with skin cancer just before Christmas, a large mole on my back. Going off topic again here, but I had it removed, then went back again because it tested positive for melanoma, or however you pronounce it, and so then I had to go back before Christmas and have another bigger chunk removed, just to be safe. Still haven't got the results back from that yet. Touch wood, it's okay, and but it certainly brings it home to you when something like that happens to you, especially to yourself. I mean, obviously, if it happens to someone in your family or a good friend, then obviously then it makes you think twice about life and the meaning of life and all of that stuff, and how important things are to you. Shut up talking on your phone, you big twat. I'll move over for you, cunt face. Anyway, excuse my language. No, I don't excuse it at all. Fuck it. So yeah, it's when something actually does happen to you, know, like when you're crossing a road and you think you've checked both ways, but then suddenly a car appears from nowhere and your heart jumps into your throat and you literally have poop running down your legs, and you think, fucking hell, I nearly died. I nearly kicked the bucket there. That kind of split second, oh my god, that could have been it, is sort of more spread out would be how I've felt when I got that diagnosis last year, and especially when the doctor told me, waffle, when the doctor told me that over the course of 5 years there's a 95% survival rate. I thought, fucking hell, what? I've got 5% chance that in the next 5 years I might die, that I might be suddenly all covered in it, and that might be the end for me, a nice long slow painful skin disease death. So since then I've been trying to make the most of it myself. I've been trying to get out as much as I can. You're probably sick and tired of my videos, but here I am making another one, trying to get out and enjoy life as much as possible. Try and see different things every day, look for different exciting, interesting things to look at and talk about, and food to eat, and all sorts of different things. Absolutely live life like it's your last day. That's what I'm trying to do. If I hadn't come out for a walk today, I just sat in my flat twiddling my thumbs, and then suddenly at the end of the day I died. What have I got to show for that last day? You know, make the most of it, guys. Absolutely make the most of it. Don't just talk about it, do it. Absolutely do it, because you never know when it could be your last one. Coming full circle, of course, what a fucking sticky, tricky situation it is to live to that mantra when stupid fucking COVID is going around the world, supposedly. So we come full circle back to almost the original idea of what I was going to talk about today, and that is fucking COVID. Can't get on a train, can't get on a bus, unless you're a key worker. Can't go out, there's only certain shops open, can't sit outside a cafe, can't go to the beach, can't go to the cinema or the theatre or the pub, can't get a train and go to your family for just no reason at all, can't go on holiday. What's it all about? What's it all about? Is it all actually happening? I mean, apart from the fact of who actually started it all, whose fault it is, maybe we shouldn't be levying blame and just be coping with it if it does actually exist. But yeah, that's another thing. So my closing thoughts: don't listen to everything that you hear on the media. Make your own mind up about stuff. As a slight side note to my final message here, there's plenty of information on the internet out there, some radio stations and TV stations, private ones, not run by the corporate media. There's plenty of videos on YouTube by people that actually are out there in the world experiencing what's going on. And I'm not saying that they're right, go and listen to what everybody else has to say, as well as mainstream media, and then make your own mind up. But even then, keep an open mind about it. For example, there's a guy on YouTube, his channel that he does with another one. One of the channels that they have is ADV Podcasts or ADV China, something like that. Go and check it out. Guy that lived in China with his friend Sea Milk, don't ask, and he together now mostly. They make lots of videos about China. Both now live in America, where Sea Milk was originally from, and Winston, the ADV guy, actually was from South Africa, but they both lived in China for a large portion of their lives, a good 10 to 15 years. They actually lived worked in China, where lots of the media say that the virus started, and just as a brief example, they talk about the fact that China, because they can read Chinese and speak Chinese fluently, of course, so they read all the Chinese media, and obviously are surrounded by their own media, the Western style media, and they apparently, I can't read Chinese, so I can't verify this, right? There's the key. I can't verify it. I have to take what they're saying, their translations of the Chinese newspapers, etc., as read. But I can't guarantee that. But I do listen to what they have to say. And Chinese government apparently blamed it on Italy. I think that was in the media at some point over here. And then blamed it on Africa, that the disease came from Africa into China and then came out. Apparently Chinese have been lying about the vaccines that they've been creating, about the success rates. Apparently the Chinese have been lying across the board when it comes to how many people are infected and when it actually first started, and all these sort of things, you know, that I'm sure once the virus is gone, please, pray to God, once the virus has gone, there will probably be some kind of inquiry, you know, like there was into the Nazi Holocaust and everything that went on years later once the dust had settled. Let's investigate this and see what actually happened, and if there's anybody that's to blame for anything, let's hold them to justice. So that's their point of view, and I listen to it because not many people actually listen to it. Two guys that actually used to live in China and form their own opinions about it. Are they right? No. Is the Western media right? No. Who knows? You know, who knows? And that's unless you're actually there on the ground where things are happening at the time and see it with your own eyes, who knows what the truth is? Who knows? Nobody knows. But the only way that we can get a balanced opinion about stuff like that is to listen to as many sources as possible. Not just listen to one, not just listen to BBC and then base your opinions about that, or The Guardian or The Times says it, so it must be true. No! Read everything. If you want to get a better idea of any story in the media, you shouldn't just read The Times. You shouldn't just read The Sun or the News of the World. You should read all of them. And then still keep an open mind about what actually went on. Even still, after reading multiple sources, still keep an open mind on it. Even if deep down you've got a kind of a concrete feeling in the pit of your stomach, having read everything and seen everything that I've seen, my honest opinion would be this. However, I'm still keeping an open mind. That's the way we should be, surely. Anyway, I've waffled on for far too long, and I probably need to stop quite soon. As you can hear, my voice is going rather croaky. I've been talking for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Oh my God. So I'm gonna, unless I think of anything else to add as an appendix onto what I've been talking about, then I'm going to sign off here. There's a brief overview of my thoughts on COVID. Mum, get better soon. Physically, mentally, please pray to whatever there is, that it happens, and that you can enjoy a nice, long, satisfying, eventful, enjoyable, interesting, varied life now that Dad has gone, and make the most of your twilight years, as I think all of our family needs to do. Now, anyway, there we go. See ya.